Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Run Talk with Todd. Today we're going to talk about how to beat the heat while running. It's hot out there right now, so any tips are going to be of good use. We're going to talk about slowing down while you're running, so to run off heart rate or perceived effort versus running off of your watch. We're going to talk about water and how much you should be taking while you're out there, and then we're going to talk about other items that you can use to get the most out of your run and to beat the heat. Make sure you stay tuned till the end to get all the tips. Let's go! All right, today was day 217 on my run streak. Still going strong, running out there in the heat. I'd love to hear how you guys are doing on your run streak, so definitely hit me a comment and let's hear about them. First things first, I want to preface the video by saying this is the perfect time to change up your routine, to start running earlier in the morning, get a few days in on the treadmill. I'm certainly not saying you need to get out there during the heat, but if you are going to run in the middle of the day when it's really hot outside, these are some things you can do to get the most out of your runs. So first things first, let's talk about pace, effort, and slowing down a little bit as part of running in the heat. So when you run outside in the heat, it's recommended, I'd recommend starting 30 to 45 seconds a mile slower right off the bat than what you normally would be doing your run at. So don't get discouraged if you're running slower. It's hot out. Your heart rate's going to be a little bit higher to start, so running off of heart rate. If you run with a heart rate monitor from time to time or often, I would base my run more on the heart rate. So if you're running normally, let's say 140 to 150 beats per minute, base off that versus off of what pace you're running, because that's going to be a true indication of perceived effort or effort versus time. So always go off that effort, and again, slow down. Just slow down to start. It's okay. You're still going to get your run in, but it's going to be a lot safer and a lot more comfortable if you're slowing down right off the bat or running off of perceived effort or heart rate. Number two, this is something I do all year round. It is really good to have an idea of where you're going to run before you start, and whether that's around your house or if you're going out to the local park or trail system. Knowing where your main aid stations or water stops, drinking fountains are along the route. This is super important during the summertime as it relates to water. Now, I'm somebody that likes to carry water anytime I'm running more than like an hour and a half. I'm going to carry water with me. If it's under that, I'm not. And so on those runs where I'm not carrying any type of water with me, I definitely want to know, where that local like public restroom is, or again, drinking fountains, or fast food places that I could go in and grab a cup of water if I absolutely needed it. So definitely know where the water is. And then it's recommended that you're going to take or drink 6 to 8 ounces of water for every 20 minutes that you're working out. Now, when I say that, it doesn't sound like a lot, but that's like half of a bottle of water every 20 minutes. So keep that in mind, especially when it's hot outside. Almost overdrink versus underdrink, because it is hot. You're going to be losing a lot of liquid. You're sweating a lot, and you got to keep yourself hydrated. You don't want to get dehydrated, especially mid-run. Now let's talk about some other things, some other items that are going to be beneficial for you while you're running. Number one, for me, it's almost as important, or I won't say more important, but as important as water is salt. And it's something we don't think about nearly enough. For me, I sweat a ton and I lose a lot of salt when I sweat. So I am very conscious about taking, either before my run or during my run, salt tablets. It's something that you can take. There's a lot of different versions of salt tablets. I mean, you could go as far as just grabbing like a packet of salt at a fast food place and downing that real quick. It's not the tastiest thing, but a salt caplet is just like a gelatin caplet. You pop it in, it's salt. Replace the salt that you're losing, and it's one of the things that gets people in trouble a lot, especially during the summer, because they're losing more salt than they realize. They're just drinking water, but they're not replacing those key nutrients that they need, like salt. Sunscreen, very important. It's something we don't think about it as much, but the worst thing is getting really sunburned on a run. If you're going to be out there more than 25, 30 minutes, I highly recommend putting sunscreen on. Keep yourself safe. There's so many issues now around skin cancer, things like that. Just take the time, put on the sunscreen. I like using like an athletic sunscreen that's not gonna come off if I was to jump in a pool or sweat. So get something that's like an athletic type sunscreen that you can put on before your run. And then anti-chafe things like Body Glide or squirrel nut butter, very, very important. As you sweat more, again, it's a lot easier to chafe, and chafe anywhere, under the arms, on the legs, feet, blistering. I'll actually put Body Glide or squirrel nut butter on my feet to help blistering, especially when it's hotter outside, because my feet are gonna sweat more. Very important. It's something I would highly recommend to make your run more enjoyable. And then the last thing as it relates to other items is make sure you're in the right apparel. I even go so far as saying socks as well. Make sure you're never running in cotton socks. Have a technical Dry Max type sock on your foot that's going to wick moisture and keep your feet dry. Same thing goes with your apparel, your shorts and your shirts. Make sure those are technical. They're not cotton. They're not holding on to moisture. And also, even if you're wearing a technical material, make sure that you're not wearing anything that has these large logos on it, because those are generally going to retain more of that moisture as well. They're going to stay hotter and may chafe easier too. So those items are going to help. But again, anything you can do on the 3 things we talked about are going to make your runs better. I'm certainly not saying you're not going to be hot. It's hot out there. It's going to be hot, but there are ways to get around the heat and make the run a little bit more enjoyable. So to recap here, we talked about slowing down a little bit, starting 30 to 45 seconds slower than you normally would, running off heart rate, taking water or knowing where your water stops are, taking 6 to 8 ounces for every 20 minutes that you're running, and then having key items like technical apparel, socks, non-cotton on everything, no cotton, salt, taking enough salt, sunscreen, and all those things. If you do them, you will get the most out of your run, have the most enjoyable run in the heat. If you have tips that I haven't talked about, definitely hit them on the comments so that other people can see what you're doing, and I'd love to read them as well. And we'll see you next week.